What's up, YouTubers? So before we get started with this video, on SportsCenter, they're going to be talking about San Diego Padres All-Star Fernando Tatis Jr. has been suspended 80 games for using performance-enhancing drugs. So let's see what they have to say about that.
Jeff, what more can you tell us about this suspension here?
Kevin, the 80-game suspension is perhaps the biggest Major League Baseball has seen in terms of name since Alex Rodriguez was suspended. And the fact that Fernando Tatis Jr., at 23 years old, really at the beginning of a 14-year, $340 million guaranteed contract.
Guaranteed money
That he signed with the Padres was frankly stunning. All of baseball right now is shocked by this, and they're shocked because you don't see a player of his caliber, of his age, and of his contract status, or at least baseball hasn't seen that combination in someone who's tested positive for a performance-enhancing drug. Earlier today, rumors were percolating throughout the Dominican Republic, specifically San Pedro de Macorís, the city in which Fernando Tatis Jr. grew up. I heard from a number of people down there who were saying, I hope it's not true, I hope it's not true. Well, it was true in Major League Baseball. Kevin laid down an 80-game suspension that'll keep him out for the remainder of this season, the 48 games left, as well as 32 games to begin the 2023 season.
Yeah, so that's absolutely going to kill the San Diego Padres. 80 games. So that cuts into the season this year and next season. So the Padres are 65-52. They're second in the West, just below the LA Dodgers. This is absolutely going to kill the Padres' hopes of doing anything this year. And the start of next year, yeah, this is a big screw up by Fernando. So let's take a quick look what Fernando did last year. So his batting average was 282. That's 28th overall last year. He had 42 home runs. That's 5th overall. He had 97 RBIs last year. That's 28th overall. So, the Padres were really hoping Fernando was going to be able to come in and take care of business. I know he hasn't done anything this year, but this is a huge letdown for the Padres. This absolutely hurts.
Get to a Padres statement in a moment, but I want to get your reaction on what you're hearing now, in the aftermath over the last. You just reported this less than 20 minutes ago, but this is a team that acquired Juan Soto less than 2 weeks ago in quite possibly the biggest trade in baseball history when you look at the talent that they gave up to bring in Soto to form this team to chase the Dodgers and make an impact in the National League race. When we talk about the wild card scenario, just get into the playoffs and see what happens. What's been the reaction here from the Padres and what you're hearing around the league on the Padres moving forward?
Kevin, if you look at the Padres statement, it says we learned today, and that is typically how performance-enhancing drug suspensions work. Major League Baseball consults with the Major League Baseball Players Association. The player is informed, but the team is often the last one to find out. And so, we're not sure at this point if Tatis appealed or if he just accepted the suspension that was laid down. But the Padres presumably did not know when they were in the middle of trying to trade for Juan Soto to combine him with Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. atop that lineup. So this is clearly a blow to San Diego's playoff hopes.
This is a huge blow to the. How old is Fernando Tatis Jr.? He's only been in the league for 3 or 4 years. This questions everything he's ever done. You test positive like this. Talk about getting a bag and then just completely falling apart. It hadn't even been a year, and this guy tests positive for PEDs? You gotta be kidding me. You get that huge contract, and you test positive within months? Yeah, that's a huge blow for the Padres. And I feel like it was destined to happen for the Padres, because stuff like this is always happening to the Padres. This is just a huge letdown for the Padres that we're really just going to have to get over.
And yet, we need to acknowledge the Padres have played well this season without Fernando Tatis Jr., who still hasn't taken an at-bat in 2022. He was just on a rehab assignment with San Antonio at AA in hopes of coming back over the next week to 2 weeks, but he won't be back until 2023. And at that point, his future with San Diego, listen, he's going to be back. He has a no-trade clause in his contract, but you wonder how the organization is looking at him now compared to how it did in the past.
And you alluded to that monster.
Yeah, they're definitely going to look at him with the side eye. You be paying all that money and you pop hot. I mean, it's not like anything else. I mean, you pay this guy all that money and he tests hot for steroids. That questions anything and everything you looked at and studied and recruited for this guy. All that's thrown out the window because you don't know if that's real or not. Is it the juice or is it he's skilled like that? I mean, this ruins everything for the Padres.
Contract he received, of course, before the season. By the way, the Padres still a one-game lead in that final wild card spot in the National League as they are 12 games over 500. Jeff Passan with this breaking news. Fernando Tatis Jr. testing positive for PEDs and suspended 80 games. And he made a reference, that is, Jeff, to the statement from the Padres. Here's what they said. We were surprised and extremely disappointed to learn today that Fernando Tatis Jr. tested positive for a performance-enhancing substance in violation of Major League Baseball's Joint Prevention and Treatment Program and subsequently received an 80-game suspension without pay. We fully support the program and are hopeful that Fernando will learn from this experience.
Yeah, I hope we learn from this experience. I mean, this is a huge letdown for the Padres. And to pop, like I said, this questions anything and everything he's done in his short career, and he's so young. It's just a huge letdown to have all that money. The Padres were on their way up. Everything's going good. I mean, they're still going to do good and still going to progress and all that. But this is just a huge letdown for the start of Fernando's career with the Padres.